All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 135-pound division where Gervonta Davis is getting some more accusations out there as people want fight fans to hold him responsible for trying to cheat Frank Martin ahead of time. Where have we heard this before? Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about old cheating Gervonta Davis. Every fight he cheats. Every fight. What a manufactured career. It's amazing that there's this cottage industry of people that consistently are putting things out about Gervonta Davis that are not true. Now, if you are criticizing things that were true, that would be one thing. Hey, man, fair game for everything. But criticizing people for things that are not true, nah, man, I ain't really going for it, man. So two things have been said. One, Gervonta Davis is weight training Frank Martin. And the other is that he has a completely manufactured career. Manufactured career. Now, before I get into the detail of it, and by the way, Frank Martin is part of the manufacturing of his career. Now, before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a long-time supporter of the channel, thank you. Shout out to Barbara D, Matty O, Daryl McKinney. Shout out to my guy, Mr. Pragmatic. A couple of other people I haven't seen in a while. Let me say what's up to my guy, Bomb Squad, Expensive Paper. Hadn't seen you in a while, brother, but I ain't forgot about you, man. Thank you for your support over the long time that you've been stopping by the channel. Thank you. And thank you to everybody that supports in the super thanks. It's a great way to support any content creator, not just me. If you don't like what I have to say and you like what somebody else has to say, hey, man, vote with your pocketbook, throw a couple bucks at them and tell them, hey, man, thank you for the content you provide. Because, hey, man, ain't nobody out here like Stephen A. Smith getting paid by Coca-Cola and a whole bunch of big advertisers. So if you want the boxing content in a sport that's not really covered very well by the mainstream media, or the sports media kind of come by every once in a while, support your YouTube content creator that you like. And thank you to everybody that chooses me to do that with. But let's get into this. Two things. Gervonta Davis weight training Frank Martin, and Gervonta Davis fighting Frank Martin. And this is as another manufactured fight in this manufactured career. Saw this video on a YouTube channel who I will not mention, but I listened to the argument and I thought to myself, what a very well enunciated pile of garbage. And you can compliment somebody and say, hey, well, he's really skilled. He's really skilled. And, you know, he passes the eye test. Oh, that's all good. But it's a completely manufactured career. Brother, you cannot have those two things at the same time. Okay. If he deserves his credit because he's a highly skilled fighter and he's beating fighters with his skill, that's not a manufactured fighter unless you are saying that, hey, man, he was taught how to fight very, very well by these people. Because, you know, how would you know that he's a good fighter if he doesn't beat people and you actually respect his skill? When people are saying somebody's a manufactured fighter, usually that refers to the fact that they are not as good as people claim them to be. If you want to say somebody is manufactured because he's given opportunities to market him, that he's a well-marketed fighter, that there is a lot of hype around him, fine. But a manufactured fighter, that is a stretch beyond stretch. Now, I will talk about that in detail, but I want to get past the one because that's subjective. The one that is objectively not true is the one about this Frank Martin fight and Gervonta Davis weight draining Frank Martin. Number one, According to Frank Martin, there is no rehydration clause in this fight. There is no rehydration clause in this fight. So Frank Martin, last I checked, has been fighting for several fights and campaigning for several fights at 135 pounds. Gervonta Davis is a champion at 135 pounds. Gervonta Davis did not ask Frank Martin to move down from 140 pounds down to 135 pounds. He was already there. So there's no way he drained him. If Frank Martin says there is no rehydration clause in this fight, I don't see why Frank Martin would lie about that. However, even if Frank Martin didn't say that and we just had to go off of what we know about the history of Gervonta Davis fighting guys at 135, you will see that none of them have ever said that Gervonta Davis had a rehydration clause for a fight at 135 or 130 pounds. The two times that he had a rehydration clause, one against Ryan Garcia, was at 140 pounds. Ryan Garcia wanted to weigh in at 139, which is 4 pounds over the 135 pound limit that Gervonta Davis was fighting at. In order to make the fight, Gervonta Davis said, okay, I'll give you a pound, 136. I'm not giving you 4 pounds, Ryan. You're already a lot bigger than me. I'm not about to do that. If you want to fight me, I'll give you a pound. However, I'm not going to allow you to weigh in at 180 pounds. So 100, you can gain 10 pounds, which is very, very consistent with what the IBF does, what the WBC is trying to do in their program, where they said we are going to try to keep track of how much people weigh and how much people weigh on the same day of the fight in the locker room. It is a widely recognized thing that people are engaging in a massive amount of weight gain, which is something that Devin Haney said about Ryan Garcia when he petitioned to have Ryan Garcia loss turned into a win by saying we didn't know how much he rehydrated to. He was 3 pounds. He came in 3 pounds over the weight at 140, and we don't know what he weighed to. This weigh how much he gained. And the IBF has a rule in their fights for a 10-pound rehydration clause. And the California State Athletic Commission also put one in, has a rule that says you can't gain more than 15% of your body weight in between the first weigh-in and the second weigh-in. This is something that people all around boxing know is a risk for fighters. You fight a guy at one weight and then all of a sudden they blow way up. That is to protect the fighter themselves, and it's not something that, well, let me criticize a fighter for doing it, but then criticize a fighter for trying to not let it happen. And that was only for fights outside of the weight class that he fights at. In the weight class that he's fought in, he hasn't done that with anybody that I know of. So we can stop all this, he's trying to take advantage of poor Frank. Frank fights at that weight division. Gervonta's fighting under the same rules as Frank. Frank, from my understanding, said it's not true that there's a rehydration clause, so people can stop it. Now, back to this manufactured thing. How in the world do you manufacture a fighter who, by the way, was not signed with a major promoter, not signed to a major promoter when he turned pro? He was fighting with Adrian Bronner about billions. That is as far as from somebody that started and had their career in the limelight as you can possibly get. He then, after he signs with Floyd, gets a fight with Jose Pedraza, who's the best 130 pounder in the world at the time. And he dominated the man completely from an underdog status. How is that manufactured? It's unless you mean they manufactured the fight, as in hey, do you want to fight? Hey, do you want to fight? Let's make a fight. Oh, we just made a fight. We manufactured a fight. The idea that he is out here fighting fighting guys with big names that are just garbage is just make believe. It's complete. Mario Barrios, Ryan Garcia just beat up Devin Haney. Devin Haney was somebody that was, top 10 pound for pound fighter. No, Ryan Garcia moves up in weight and beats Devin Haney. You have Mario Barrios, who's now moved up a weight class and became the WBC world champion. And Gervonta moved up in weight and stopped him. He beat Leo Santa Cruz. He moved down in weight to fight Leo Santa Cruz, who's a Hall of Famer. He beat Isaac Cruz, who moved up and became a world champion at 140. Where is all of this? If this kid is manufactured, man, everybody's manufactured. It's just, unless you're saying, hey, it's because Floyd associated with Floyd, so therefore everybody looked at him, and so therefore everybody saw him, and he's on these big cards. And if it wasn't for the fact that he's with Floyd, then nobody would know who he was. But look, everybody everybody that's ever been a big name fighter has to be seen by somebody at some time. The question is, when people see you, do they want to keep watching you? And Gervonta Davis has performed on the big stage and given fight fans what they want to see, so people want to see more. If anybody manufactured Gervonta Davis, is Gervonta Davis, who did the work in order to get the skill set that he was fortunate enough to be blessed with the God-given talent that he has. And when he got on the big stage, he performed on the big stage the way people wanted to see him perform on the big stage. There's been a lot of other people that have been given more than Gervonta Davis has and weren't able to do that. Give the kid the credit for doing what the kid does. And when he's on the big stage, showing up and showing out in a way that gets more people want to see him and more people wanting to fight him against top-notch fighters, which includes Frank Martin. Frank Martin is a top 135 pounder. He's not a cherry pick. If you put Frank Martin in there with Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, Vasily Lomachenko, they would be up for the same. And these guys were fighting Frank. That would be dangerous fights for all of those guys, because Frank Martin has already proven that he's a dangerous fighter when he beat Michel Rivera. The dude is a very athletic, big punching southpaw. He may not be Vasily Lomachenko. He may not be Shakur Stevenson, but he's definitely a legitimate fighter. And he's not Shakur Stevenson. He's not fought Shakur yet. Well, no, he hasn't fought Shakur yet, but Shakur hasn't fought him yet. So how are you going to judge him for not fighting Shakur, but give credit to Shakur, even though Shakur has not fought him? Even though I'm a big fan of Shakur, I know Shakur is a legitimate fighter too. These guys are not manufactured. This is not phony baloney nonsense. These dudes have got pedigrees. These dudes have performed in big fights over a series of years. They're legitimate fighters that deserve their credit, and not for people to just be trashing them because they really don't like them. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.